So I saw The Predator and my god was it a mess. It's a watered down sequel to a film that didn't need a sequel. It's like they were looking for something to do with the Predator franchise and took inspiration from Terminator Genisys. They took everything from the first Predator movie except the quality writing and filmmaking. The opening scene is just reshot bits of the first film edited together in a different order to give it a new context. Each of the shots is taken directly from the first movie. It opens with a spaceship. They add some extra stuff, but it's essentially the shot of the spaceship from the original. Then we get the shot where the helicopter lands and the soldiers get out. Then moving through the jungle, followed by that shot where Arnold looks through the binoculars at the camp, except this time the character looks through a gun scope. Wow, such innovation! That's followed by the bit where the guy executes the hostages in the camp, and all the time playing the classic Predator score over the top. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see all the things I've seen before. And people moaned about Jurassic World when it copied everything from the originals. They reused loads of shots and dialogue. I almost threw up when they said get to the chopper. It's just stuff you've seen before but done worse and dumberer. The script was absolutely terrible. I can't tell if the writers are lazy or they think the audience is so dumb they won't notice. Some of the characters seem to know everything about the Predators with no information at all. A woman looks through a microscope for 10 seconds and then gives us the history of the Predator race. They hear a really loud noise and somehow a man knows the Predator is using a translator. How would you even know that before anything has been translated? And the only reason he says it is because the writers think the audience is stupid. If we just saw the Predator using the translator like it has done at least 3 times previously in the movie, I think we could figure it out. They even feel the need to explain what the dreadlocks are for. I think they call it expanding the mythology. I call it dumbing it down and ruining any mystery behind this creature. And doesn't the whole making hybrids thing work against what was established in the other Predator films? It was one creature out to prove it was the best. Now it has dogs and genetically modifies itself. And those dog things with the Predator dreadlocks were horrendous. And what the story does with them was even worse. Weirdest of all, The Predator is a comedy film with a few action sequences. It's like a Marvel movie with a Predator in it. The film is a comedy. All of the people have jokes and most of the characters are simply comic relief. They crack your mama jokes all the time and none of them are funny. The entire theatre was silent, but they were clearly meant to be jokes. Do you remember those terrible pussy jokes from the original? The jokes themselves weren't funny, but they got a laugh because of how the other characters reacted. Now it's as if they thought those pussy jokes were funny and filled the entire film with them. The dialogue was insufferable. It was all meaningless verbal diarrhea. One of the guys has Tourette's and it's solely used for comedy. It's like a little kid has just learnt a swear word and thinks it's funny to use it at every chance they get. Speaking of which, I don't think the film understands mental health issues at all. How is autism the next step in human evolution exactly? The entire film felt like it was overcompensating. You think predators were big? Well now here's a 20-foot predator. The original had these huge macho guys, so now these new characters try to act tough with loads of swearing and picking their noses and stuff. The movie was clearly trying too hard. A biologist is introduced who we're told wrote the book on evolution. I'm sorry, but I thought that was Charles Darwin with The Origin of Species. She's a scientist and super scared when things get dangerous, and then suddenly she picks up a gun and starts chasing after the predator, jumping onto a moving bus and generally performing loads of stunts as if this was a remake of The Last Action Hero. The switch between her being terrified and being an action star is like flicking on a light switch, and her motivation for doing it is so flimsy I'd barely call it a motivation at all. All of the characters are idiots. The main character posts obviously dangerous alien weapons to his house, where his wife and child live. Sure, they say it was sent to a PO box and then got sent to his house through some convoluted bullshit. Why would you even consider posting it if there was even a chance it could endanger your child? And then he decides to swallow some of that alien technology. Why didn't you just post it with the rest of the stuff? You have no idea what that is. One thing I noticed is that all the predators had the same personality. They were just big, scary monsters. In the first two films, despite their faults, The creatures had clearly distinct personalities. I'd also like to point out that they show the heat vision a few times, even though there's absolutely no reason to. It doesn't play into any story or character elements, no one figures out they're being tracked by the heat and finds a way to hide from it, it's just there as fan service. The action scenes were completely underwhelming. Everything was often dark and hard to follow. It was difficult to get an understanding on who was where and what exactly was going on. There's so little actual blood and gore like you'd expect from a Predator movie. There's a few CGI blood splats, but you can't really see it because of quick edits and a dark screen. It's so tame. They sequel bait so hard at the end, and it's like some kind of really bad fanfiction. It's like the writers saw how stupid Jurassic World was and wanted to beat it. Here's a spoiler warning, so skip to this timecode if you want to avoid it. I'm about to discuss the ending, which was shit. So I don't understand the Predator's motivations. It kills loads of people in the laboratory, but then it turns out the reason it came to Earth was to give something to humans that will save mankind. That's quite a big contradiction. And from the information given in the movie, it should be smart enough to attempt to communicate with humans if it wanted to. But no, it's just a big dumb monster that kills things until they want to shoehorn in a story, then it wants to save the human race. It turns out the big thing the Predator wanted to give to the humans was a big suit of armour that looked like the Predator with guns on it. It was basically an Iron Man suit. So the next movie is going to be some kind of superhero Iron Man bullshit fighting an alien invasion. Wow, that sounds dumber than I could have ever possibly expected.
Oh no!
I have no idea why they went with the hybrid storyline again. It's already been done in 2 previous Predator movies. For all the hype around this film taking the Predator franchise in a new direction, it certainly retreads a lot of tired old ground. Not to mention the hybrids don't play into the storyline. You could remove the hybrids from the equation and it wouldn't change the narrative at all. The entire film feels like it's been cobbled together out of parts. It's a Frankensteinian abomination. It has a bunch of continuity and editing errors. I'm not even sure what happened to one of the characters. The comedy is nothing short of annoying, the tone is inconsistent, none of the characters are likeable, lots of story threads go nowhere, the action scenes have absolutely no tension or suspense, some of the effects are laughable, it's a complete bastardization of the Predator. I'd give this a 3 out of 10. Maybe a 4, but probably a 3.